It seems like in Kubiak's offense, the third wide receiver is the tight end. Do you have the numbers on tight end receptions in Gary Kubiak offenses?
Well, Ramie, yes, I do. I'm so glad you asked.
How about that?
I'll give you the percentage is what they have here. The targets to the tight end position.
Okay.
Percentage of targets is 23%. Now, for context, last year, Kyle Rudolph alone was about 16%.
So that's a nice uptick.
Right. There will be more required, more likely than not. That's the average over the entire time Gary Kubiak has been an offensive coordinator. It's been as high when they had Shannon Sharp as over 30% going to the tight end.
Yeah, I mean, third wide receivers have more importance in certain offenses than others, and it doesn't seem like they're placing a lot of importance on it. And when you look at that history of Gary Kubiak's offenses, it makes sense why they're not placing much of an emphasis on it.
I was reading some of these names. Tell me if you remember them. Andre Cooper, Robert Brooks with 3 catches once.
I do remember Robert Brooks, yes.
Scotty Montgomery. You remember Ashley Lally, don't you?
Who could forget Ashley Lally?
You played,
and I played Madden though. I played with my brother. I mean, I wasn't great at it.
I mean,
you don't remember Ashley Lally?
I had to take the third seat behind whoever else had controller number 2. It was usually one of our neighbors who came over, but I played.
Okay, so here's the difference. If you played, but like your brother and friends.
That mansplaining. I mean, this is kind of the common theme of my day today.
Okay, I have never done that to you, and this is not going to happen now.
Yeah.
It is not going to happen now either. But
sometimes my girlfriend accuses me of mansplaining, and I have no idea I'm mansplaining at all.
All right. Well, if you just played the game with friends, then you wouldn't have done full off-season franchise modes because you'd have to be an extreme nerd and potentially not have any life, which might
I'd have
for
multiple
us.
franchise modes running at the same time.
So where you would end up with Ashley Lally is that he would always end up in free agency, and he had great hands or something.
I think he was really fast.
Yes, really fast. That's why you would have played with like the game, but not the extreme franchise mode.
You didn't go deep dive like we did.
That is
deep, nerdy Madden dive.
Explanation and not a mansplaining.
That's fine. That's fair. That's not mansplaining. I have other examples of that.
These other names, though, Charlie Adams, Kevin Walter, I remember a little. Andre Davis, I remember a little, like a kick returner, I think. David Anderson. The point just being that, including me, I put a lot of emphasis on what are they going to do at wide receiver 3. And if they're running this type of offense, I don't think it's ever better to have fewer receivers, especially if Diggs or Thielen gets hurt for any part of time.
Yeah.
If everyone's healthy, though, this points to me exactly what your conclusion is, that wide receiver 3 is the tight end, and that makes it much harder to just say goodbye, Kyle Rudolph.
I was just going to say that's probably why they're trying so hard to make it work with Kyle Rudolph, because Gary Kubiak needs him in his offense. You're not going to, for as much as they put on the tight end in that offense, you're not going to put that on a rookie in Irv Smith Jr., the youngest rookie in this year's draft, I think, wasn't he?
He's 20.
He was 20, yeah. Well, he was one of them. Now, let me ask you this question, Ramie. We were talking about this last hour.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Kyle Rudolph, you probably come to minicamp next week. It's mandatory minicamp. If it gets to training camp and there's no resolution and you're Kyle Rudolph, you know how many cards you hold at this table. Are you holding out?
If I'm Ramie Makhlouf, I do. If I'm Kyle Rudolph and I talk to Big Game about what leaders do and that they show up, no, I can't. I can't. I backed myself into a corner.
See, now I would have to look back at the quote, but did he say OTAs? Leaders show up at OTAs?
Well, leaders show up to OTAs. Leaders show up to mandatory minicamp.
Leaders show up to voluntary things, but when it's mandatory and I have a chance to make a power play.
Do you think that he is calling the shots with this, or if it's going to be his agent? If he is the one saying, hey, I'm just going to show up and play, or if he's saying, look, I can't go out there. Now, minicamp is in shorts, and yeah, every once in a while somebody gets hurt, but there's not a high likelihood of that. Training camp, people get hurt, and you're out there in pads, and you're out there hitting and making contact. If I'm Rudolph, I'm saying, man, my future is on the line here. We were just looking at other tight end contracts. You're talking about maybe $20 million guaranteed for him. If I'm him, I can't go out there at training camp and play under a contract that doesn't guarantee me any money.
No,
you have the injury guarantees.
Well, right. I mean, for the future,
yes.
it doesn't guarantee me any future down the road.
Exactly, because he has nothing guaranteed left on the final year of his deal right now.
That's what I mean.
Just to clarify.
And you're willing to take the hit that it might look like after saying what you said a few weeks ago and then holding out a mandatory minicamp.
But I do think that most rational fans, which I know that there's sometimes not, they don't come to the forefront that often, would have to realize the guy has no guaranteed money outside of the injury guarantees, which everybody knows. Doesn't have any guaranteed money left. Like, it is your career and your livelihood that's on the line, and you're one injury away from that happening in training camp. It only makes sense to try to protect yourself. I mean, unless could he potentially do what Barr did and go take an insurance policy out? If you really, but like, why even save face at that point? You said you don't anticipate this thing going past training camp or going into training camp. If I'm him, I'm going to be kind of angry if it's going into training camp, and I'm not going to want to be there.
And if I'm the Vikings, I'm not going to have my arm twisted into trading you.
No, absolutely not.
There's no way.
But if he says, look, I'm just not playing on this deal, then we are at an impasse. I mean, because the Vikings at this point have no leverage to even trade him. If I'm other teams, I'm going fifth.
Well,
right?
You know what
I'm lowballing you.
You know what you can do if he doesn't want to do that? You cut him. You get that $7.625 million back in cap space. You cut him. That's the only way it happens.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we've talked about this for the last hour and 10 minutes. We have not talked about the fact that they can just literally today, 5 minutes ago, cut him.
But you talk about bad looks.
Oh, of course it's a bad
look. If you're
look.
the Vikings,
but
you're cutting that good of a player.
Yes. And I do, is what Ramie was mentioning, when you pose the question.
That's also letting him win. Then he becomes a free agent. He get paid by somebody else.
You get your cap space back because you're already in a really bad situation. You can roll it in 2020.
Yeah.
Everyone wins one way or another. But I do agree. It is this is Kevin Stefanski and Gary Kubiak's offense. It's a mix of both of them, their philosophies. We'd be remiss to say that it is that Gary Kubiak and the usage of the tight end as the number 3 receiver does not, is going to translate over. I mean, that's huge. I wonder how much, because I'm in the agreement that they need to keep him here in order to utilize the 12 personnel the way they want to. But how much of that is going to be to let Irv Smith become that guy and not just, I know that with rookie tight ends, it's very hit or miss. And there were, there's 8 that had 40 targets or more last year, which, just really isn't a lot of a sample size of 14 that were drafted. How much of that could be Irv Smith?
I wouldn't be comfortable putting that much on a rookie.
I'm not either, which is why I think Kyle Rudolph needs to be here. But I do wonder how those roles shape out.
If this was a situation where you were building towards something and there was room for development from some guys who you were counting on in big roles, okay, I go with Irv Smith. You're in year 2 of a 3-year push your chips to the middle of the table contract on Kirk Cousins. Every move you make, every offseason of that time has to be geared towards win now.
I think if I'm Rudolph, then regardless of what I said before, mandatory minicamp, I don't show. And I say, make your call. Trade me or sign me. Those are the only 2 things that are happening here. And I'm going to use a little bit of this leverage because I want this done. If I got to go to another team, if I'm Kyle Rudolph and I have to go to another team, then I want to do it now. I don't want to do it at the beginning of training camp where I have to learn a whole new offense. I want to be able to get there and get their new playbook and go forward. So I will be interested. I think there is a chance that next week he decides to say, all right, guys, this is a hard deadline. Let's get this done now, or I'm just going to be holding out. I think this is the time to do it. And you know what? Since Gerald McCoy got cut, it is always possible that could play out. I had a chance to talk with Adam Thielen, a couple other media members as well. And he talked a lot about Kubiak's offense and the wide receiver 3 battle. So we will bring you that now.
All right, what you got? I know you're ready.
What's been your impression of the young receivers so far that you guys have brought in?
Yeah, it seems like all of them are ready to work. They love the game of football. It's actually been a really fun couple weeks getting to know them and seeing them work on the field. I think it's probably the most passionate, I'd say, group I've been around as far as rookie receivers. They want to learn. They want to get better. They're frustrated when they don't do things well, and you like to see that.
Are those the ways you see that play itself out, just the way they react to when they make a mistake on the field, or does it play itself in other ways too?
Yeah, I mean, the way that they're able to, like you said, react when it's not easy learning the NFL playbook, and they're going to have mistakes. So, they're going to be coached hard as rookies, and it's always good to see guys that don't take it offensively and don't get down on themselves, but actually want to go out and prove that they can play at this level. And every one of those guys have done that.
What has been your impressions of the Kubiak Stefanski offense so far?
Yeah, it's been great. Obviously, we're out here in shorts and t-shirts, but at the same time, it feels like a really good fit for the playmakers we have, for the quarterback we have, and the offensive line. I feel like we've made some really good progress. Obviously, we have a long ways to go, but we also have a lot of time before the first game. So it's really it keeps it fresh for us as veterans to come out here and try to master this system and try to be great at it. And it definitely humbles you when you have a new offense and you have to learn a new playbook because you mess up just like the rookies do. So, like I said, it keeps it fun, it keeps it fresh, and I'm excited to keep learning more.
Mm-hmm. Coach Makhlouf said he valued having you as an example of someone who got their roots on special teams and can kind of teach the young guys what that can do for them going forward. Like, how much pride is it to know that the way you started is now being kind of like a building block for others?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's so important. You got to have guys that are willing to play special teams, and not only just willing to play it, but treat it like just like they were out there on offense or defense. And that's a huge part of this game. In the NFL, it usually comes down to field position, and that's where you win and lose games. So it's important to have young guys that care about it and know that if you play well and you perform well on special teams, you're going to have an opportunity to play on offense or defense.
Just going back years, Kubiak running things off of play action and rolling out Kirk Cousins, things like that. Why is that so effective still, even after years and years of using these similar concepts?
Well, I think it's just hard for defenses to differ between pass and run, and it opens up the pass game and opens up the run game, and you see it out here at practice. I mean, sometimes our defense they don't know where the ball's going, they don't know which one to play, and that's when you kind of sit in the film and you're like, this is why he's had success, and this is why we're putting this in, and why we feel confident about it. So. The results will speak for themselves, and like I said, we just got to keep trying to master it because there's a lot of nuances. There's a lot of different things that we have to figure out as receivers to try to make things look the same, and so defenses don't know what's coming.
All right, that was Adam Thielen out there from OTAs today. We'll have write up on that and the Kubiak offense and what everyone is saying about it at scorenorth.com a little later on today when I get a chance to actually write it.